homecoming between Jacksonville and Davidson. It is one of the oldest rivalries in the PFL, and these two teams have met every year since 1998. It was the very first game ever played in the history of Jacksonville football, David Lamb, and it pitted these two programs, and they have met every year since. Over 20 years now, they have gone head-to-head, and we'll see it again here today. A matchup of the 4-2 Davidson Wildcats and the 2-4 Jacksonville Dolphins. In tow is the leather, and we are underway here at DB Milne Field. And a short kickoff. And Jacksonville with a patient return from Jordan Young-Humphrey out near the 35-yard line in good field position for the Dolphins to begin its first offensive series. And, David, we're going to be seeing a lot of running here today, and it's not just because of the weather.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's set the stage. Both of these teams run the football. They average like 20 passes a game between them. They just don't throw it very much. They've thrown it okay, but they just don't throw it a lot. So you will see a ton of running from both the Wildcats and the Dolphins on a cloudy, misty, drizzly kind of day.
Dive play on first down and a short gain for Garnett Nicholas of about 2. Boy, something to watch here today. Those B-backs, Nicholas and Davis, and their ball security. Both of them put the ball on the ground last week. Davis put it on the ground the week before that as well. All of a sudden, a Jacksonville team that had done such a great job of taking care of the football over the first 4 games of the season has really had a case of fumbleitis over the last 2 weeks.
I thought you made a good point before the game that with the style both teams have, the team that lays it on the ground a couple of times, that may be the difference in the game.
2nd and 9, option look, and it's Turner with a short gain on the keeper off right end. And a good start, George Hatalowicz. He's the senior linebacker from Hummelstown, Pennsylvania. A very sure tackler. 31 tackles on the year and now make that 32, a season high 9 tackles last week against San Diego. 3rd and long now for Jacksonville.
Davidson has had his defensive moments this year. That they've played really well in some games, mostly against outmanned competition, but their defense has made some plays. Meanwhile, the key for Jacksonville, just play some defense. They have been abysmal on defense, but they have run the ball well.
Here's an end around. B.J. Bird trying to get to the corner, but he is tripped up shy of the line to get Hatalowicz again, going sideline to sideline and knocking down the speedy Bird shy of the yard to get. Jacksonville's offense staying on the field, facing a 4th down and about 2. Dolphins, one of the best 4th down teams in the country on the year, 14 for 22 as the rain starts to fall again here at DB Milne Field.
Yeah, you don't really expect, a lot of 3 and outs. We'll see right now. Dolphins going for it on 4th down. This is it's a big play. This will be like a turnover if they don't get it.
4th and 2. Turner with a hard count, maybe trying to draw him off sides. Davidson stays disciplined, and the Dolphins burn a timeout.
Well, I'm a believer that your team should go on 4th down more than they do, but this is one on your side of the field. Davidson's right now is playing inspired defense. I think it would be foolish to attempt it now. Like any play call, it's a good call if it works. It's a bad call if it doesn't. But I would, the last thing you want to do with your defense if you're JU is give them the ball to start the game like this on your side of the field, because you've had trouble stopping everybody. And I'm sure the defensive coaches have challenged their players this week. Make some plays. Jeremiah Johnson, Kayshawn Wakely have made a lot of plays, but as a unit, they really haven't stopped anybody.
Right. Maybe the best week of the season was a week ago, in which Jacksonville was very good at the bend, don't break. And coming out of the timeout, Jacksonville is set up to punt it away. Davidson doesn't have anyone deep. Maybe expecting a fake punt here. Derek Stumpf unleashes a corkscrew, headed toward the 10, still bouncing toward the goal line. Jacksonville managed to save that one. No, it is a touchback. And that one just took a unfortunate hop for Jacksonville, a fortunate hop for Davidson, and the Wildcats start on offense from its own 20.
I thought they had it down about the 1 or 2 yard line, but like you said, hey, how about this for a new line? Footballs take funny bounces. that oblong shaped ball
Yes.
does take funny bounces. And you can see it right here.
And I think it's Miles Hunt who went in to try and save it from going in the end zone. I think he stepped in the end zone when he touched it, and that was the ruling. So on offense for the first time today, Davidson, the number one rushing offense in the PFL, averaging just under 300 yards a game, led by Tyler Phelps. And he'll start off in the shotgun. And a handoff on first down and a hole up the middle. And a first down run for Wesley Duggar. He is phenomenal. The junior from Henrico, Virginia. 2,747 career rush yards coming into today's game. Fourth among active players in the FCS.
Well, Duggar will carry also, I believe it's Jarrell Story. They will pretty much split of the carries, and both of them are having really good seasons.
Another dive play, and Duggar picks his way to a first down out to the 35-yard line.
Help me with my memory. Did Duggar not have a big game against the Dolphins a year ago?
He did. He has had a big game against many teams in his career, but I think just about everybody on the ground. Remember, Jacksonville jumped out to Davidson, jumped out to a huge lead at home against Jacksonville last year. 28 unanswered in the fourth quarter allowed the Dolphins to cut it to 7. It was a late onside kick that an offsides was called on that led to Davidson holding on to win the game. But, man, it was a wild and wacky one up in Davidson, North Carolina last year.
Story is in the game now as running back for the Wildcats. Like I said, they will probably get equal number of carries.
And he is a moose.
He is a big one, and he's right up the gut for about a 4 or 5 yard gain.
He picks up 4. 6 foot, 248, the senior from Dallas, Georgia, Jarrell Story. 346 yards on 4.7 yards a carry. First team all PFL last season. And Jacksonville has to find a way to slow down the dive in order to have any success here today on defense.
Well, between Story and Duggar, I mean, it's sort of a Mr. Inside, Mr. Outside type of thing. Like you said, Story is huge. Duggar's not small, but he's more the scat back at 205 pounds.
If you can call him that. There's a hard run for Story again, dragging tacklers out to the 45-yard line to the 46, and another first down for Davidson.
All right, well, right now, JU had 3 and out, and the Wildcats have already picked up 2 first downs. You mentioned Davidson was number 1 in the conference in rushing. Jacksonville second in the conference.
Mm-hmm.
So like we said at the top of the broadcast, both these teams run the ball and run it often.
New center in the game is Tate Kipperman comes to the sideline. They're looking at him. First time Davidson goes to the edges today. Eli Turner Jr. on an end around, tackled by Keyshawn Douglas after a short gain. Davidson, all 5 O-linemen playing new spots this year. Either they weren't starters, they were spot starters last year, or they changed positions. Ethan Steinbacher moves from left guard to left tackle this season, and Kipperman is on the sideline having his left ankle looked at. So Andrew Brantley has entered the game at center. We'll see if that slows down that rushing offense any.
Steinbacher is smart enough to make the switch. He is an honor student, nationally been recognized for his great work in the classroom.
Here is Duggar breaking a tackle, pushing his way close to first down yardage. He's in Jacksonville territory, and it looks like he'll be about a half yard shy of the yard to get, bringing up a third down.
I mentioned Duggar was the, quote, scat back. That wasn't anything scat back about that. That was power. So they're going to test the middle of that JU defensive line. It has failed just about every test this year. So why wouldn't you? If you looked at any film on JU, pound them right up, run right at them.
It's made the difference so far in this series thus far. The best team on third downs in the PFL has a third and very short, and Duggar's got it more. He is stopped finally when he crosses the 40-yard line, and the chains move. Third first down of the drive on this methodical first drive of the game for Davidson.
Steinbacher on the left side of that Davidson line just opened up a gigantic hole for Duggar, and he doesn't get hit until he's 4, 5, 6 yards into the run. That's what running backs love.
Down to the 38 of Jacksonville. Davidson now looks to the sideline to change the play. This is the 8th play of the drive. First drive of the game for the Wildcats in a scoreless contest here with 8:43 and counting left to play in the first quarter. Another dive play and another big hole up the middle as Wesley Duggar picks up another first down all the way down near the 20.
I want to give Duggar all the credit he deserves, but you and I could run through some of these holes. I mean, JU's defense is getting blown off the ball. By the way, Duggar and Story carry the ball the majority of the time, but they've got two slots, and they rotate players in and out, and they will get their 2 or 3 carries. And listen, a couple of them average double figures per rush. So they beat you up the middle with their 2 guys, and then these slot guys do some end rounds and so forth, and they're very dangerous.
1st and 10 from the 23, and a nice play by Ethan Hull knifing into the backfield to slow that run up before it started, and then Vasco Sanders cleans it up. That's the shortest run of the game thus far for Davidson, just about 1 yard for Duggar.
Well, that's what you have to do with a good running back is hit him before he gets started. You have to make him change direction, stop, do something. You just can't let him get ahead of steam and get 2 or 3 yards past the line of scrimmage. What you have to do is what JU just did then. But I'm telling you, the way Davidson has done it this year, they pound it. Watch for these slot guys all of a sudden to get an end around and make a big play.
Here's Story getting a carry, and no, they'll go around left side. It's the quarterback Phelps on the keeper. He fooled everybody, including myself, and carries it down close to the 10-yard line. Another 1st down for Davidson. Great fake.
Yeah, he will run the ball. He doesn't need to run it very often, but again, once you've got the defense concentrating so much on stopping them between the tackles, they've got the speed and the talent to get it wide on you. JU has to be leery of that, and that's the key to their running game.
Under 7 minutes to play here in the 1st quarter. Scoreless game between Jacksonville and Davidson, but the Wildcats in the red zone on its first offensive series. Story up the middle. Story stacked up after he carries it inside the 10, but he's still pushing the pile down to the 5.
I tell you what, one man's not going to bring Terrell Story down very often. 248 pounds, and he's big, he's well built, and all of those things. You're going to have to gang tackle him.
Davidson scores a touchdown 76% of the time they enter the red zone this season. Out of their 19 touchdowns scored, shocker, 16 of them on the ground. And they are smelling pay dirt just 5 yards away right now. They can still pick up a 1st down if they get it to the 2.
We haven't seen a pass in the game thus far. I don't anticipate seeing one anytime soon.
Duggar following the lead block of Story, lunging for the goal line, but he comes up a yard shy. It was Evan Anderson and Ethan Hull that were able to stop him just shy, but another 1st down. It's 1st and goal from the 1 for Davidson. This is a drive that is about to run its 13th play. They picked up 6 1st downs on this drive as they've methodically moved it down the field.
They had Story and Duggar in the game at the same time. Then Story made a big block.
Here's Duggar into the end zone. Touchdown, Davidson. 9th rushing touchdown of the year for Wesley Duggar. And an emphatic slicing and dicing drive for Davidson ends up in a touchdown on its 1st drive of the game.
80 yards, all on the ground. They just, like you said, methodically is a good word. They just went down the field just like you practice it. That's the way you practice it all week. And JU's defense, once again, has been punched right in the face. Can it get a better effort? The pressure now is on the JU offense. They've got to score.
The point after true from Caden Bonofsky, and Davidson leads 7-0 with 5:32 to play in the 1st quarter. I need to let you know. Seven 0 Davidson leads. 5:32 to play in the opening quarter. A 13-play drive goes 80 yards, all on the ground for the Wildcats, and ends up with the first score of the game.
I saw a patch of blue. I was so excited, and now it's gone.
And here's a bouncing kickoff. Mitch Bailey goes up and grabs it for, that's Jamar Hart who goes up and snags it for Jacksonville. That is Bailey. 88, 89 look very similar.
Well,
but that's a big reason why you have those hands guys up there.
Yeah, well, Davidson's first kickoff was on the ground. I don't know whether it's a kickoff problem with their kickoff man.
I don't know. It's their punter, Evan Pritchard, who has been handling the kickoffs, and he's been doing an interesting-looking kickoff. His first one was kind of a squib. That one was almost like an onside number.
Well, JU's had great field position. Again, they have great field position. Again, can they do anything with it? 3 and out the first time. They've got to put points on the board because I believe the winner is going to have to score in the 30s or 40s.
Garnett Nicholas takes it off right guard on first down and picks up 5 as he carries out to the 46-yard line. That's the best run of the game for Jacksonville to this point. And that will help you if you can get that on first down.
Oh, absolutely. But, Calvin Turner makes this team go. And so far, he hasn't really done. He's only, I think, run one time.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to stretch the field and do what he does if this team is going to move the ball down the field.
Jacksonville brings the wide receiver Bailey tight into the formation. Pitch play left side, stretching it out, B.J. Riley. And Riley is spun down after a short pickup. Knifing in that time, strong safety Draylon Hines, a Hero Sports freshman All-American last season, the sophomore from Arlington, Texas.
I was talking to Davidson's play-by-play guy before the game, and he insisted their defense is pretty good. And I said, well, against the bad teams, they've been dominant. And he said, but we've made a lot of plays. This defense has a nose for the ball. Coach Scott Abel likes this team.
3rd and about 5. And Nicholas pushes his way out just shy of midfield. Another 4th down upcoming for Jacksonville, a 4th and short. Do they like to go for it this time out? Last time they came out, lined up, went hard count, called a timeout, and punted.
Well, JU's not getting much done, and so you say don't go for it on 4th down. By the same token, they've got to score. They've got to keep the ball away from Davidson because they're going to look up in a minute and be down 14 or 21 the way the game is going now.
Opponents have converted 7 of 14 4th downs against Davidson this year. Jacksonville on the season is 14 for 22. Pitch play, Young Humphrey, and he is stacked up and dropped for a loss. Jake Alexander makes the tackle, and a huge 4th down stop for Davidson.
Well, the way the game is flowing, the way it feels right now, I'm not going to criticize Coach Ian Shields for going for it on 4th down because I think you got to realize if we don't keep the ball, then we're in real trouble because I don't know that we can stop Davidson. We'll find out. Right now the Dolphins are 0 for 1 trying to stop them. Let's see what Davidson does this time.
Up 7-0 with 3:31 to play in the first quarter. Davidson takes over on offense after the 4th down stop in plus territory, the 48 of Jacksonville. Here's a sweep on first down and little to no gain for Keelan Brown. He loses a half a yard.
Keelan Brown from Jacksonville, one of 2 players on the Wildcats team that this is a homecoming for. Keelan Brown is back, and also Pat Tabor is another Jacksonville athlete on the Davidson squad.
Just the 12th carry of the year for Brown, and he didn't see much there. Kason Wakely, Vasco Sanders making the tackle for Jacksonville.
Well, I don't know what adjustments JU is making defensively, but if I'm Davidson, why in the world would I do anything but hand it to Duggar or Story?
They'll run the option left side with Story. And Story showing some speed to the outside, tiptoeing down the sideline. And he's got what appears to be another first down.
I'll tell you what, when your pitch man is 248 pounds, your pitch man's usually that 175 scamper. When that 248 turns the corner, he's hard to bring down.
Excuse me, that is Aris Hilliard. Jersey bunched up a little bit in the back. It was a 3, not a 7. And the freshman, no wonder he showed so much speed going down the sideline.
Yeah, I was shocked, and I thought, well, I know Story can move. I didn't know he could move quite that well.
Wesley Duggar carries it inside the 30 to the 29, a gain of 2 on first down. We approach 2 minutes to play here in the first quarter, 7-0 Davidson.
Well, we may set a record here today at DB Mini Field on homecoming day for the fastest football game ever played. The first quarter is almost over, and the game is like...
We kicked off 20 minutes ago.
Hasn't been a pass yet.
No, there has not been. Here's a pitch. Brown again. Brown with a lane. A quick stutter. And he's into the secondary. Down to the 19. A really nice move on slick turf for Keelan Brown, the senior from Oakleaf High School just across the river. And another first down for Davidson on the move again.
On a limited number of carries now, Brown has averaged over 11 yards a carry. I was saying at the top of the show, they've got several slot guys, Brown, including Tabor, by the way, who they may only get it once or twice a game.
But they make the most of it, don't they?
They make the most of it, no question about it.
First and 10. Duggar up the middle. Duggar dragging some guys, including Kason Wakely, who holds on long enough to make the stop. A gain of 5 on first down for Wesley Duggar. You might as well just his middle name might as well be 5, because it feels like he's at minimum picking up 5 yards a carry.
Well, JU is clearly paying more attention to what's going on right in the middle of the line of scrimmage, and they needed to do that because they were just getting gutted. But now Davidson said, okay, then we'll just give it to one of the slot guys, let him go wide, let him pick up a big play. If the right hand doesn't get you, the left one will type of situation for JU right now. They are really under some pressure defensively.
Here's Duggar again off the left side, pushing the pile down inside the 10 to the 8, and another first down for Davidson. Stop me if you've heard that before. Third first down of this drive. They have 9 first downs in the game.
And we're just still with a few seconds to play in the first quarter. It has been an amazing game so far. In today's world, where everybody slings it all over the field, we haven't seen a pass, and the real time and play time are almost the same.
Well, they run a snap before the end of the quarter. They do. They'll go off right side. Keelan Brown. Brown ripped down from behind by Anderson at the 4-yard line, and that brings us to the end of the first quarter. A first quarter that did not see the ball passed once by either team. Ends with Davidson leading 7-0 and knocking on the door of making it a 2-score contest. 7-0 Davidson after 1 here at DB Milne Field in Jacksonville. Looks fine to me. Start of the second quarter here at DB Milne Field in Jacksonville, 7-0. Davidson leading the Dolphins of JU, and here is Davidson inside the red zone again, inside the 5. Wesley Duggar's already got one on the ground, make that 2 touchdowns on the ground as he starts off the second quarter by extending this Davidson advantage to 2 scores. They have been clinical on both sides of the ball to start this game.
Yeah, Davidson has 2 touchdowns. That's all they could have. They've only had the ball twice, and they literally, you hear this all the time, they've literally just walked right down the field and scored touchdowns both times, taking the ball a pretty good distance. Well, that time they didn't have to because they stopped them on 4th down. So an 80-yard drive, and what was that one, 50, 45 yards or something to that effect. But it was done quickly again.
So Davidson, 2 possessions, 2 touchdowns, and a 14-0 lead here with just 4 seconds gone in the second quarter. A Davidson team that is trying to open up 2-1 in PFL play for the second straight year. They went several seasons without winning a league game before hiring Scott Abel last season, David. And the former Washington and Lee head coach, a college baseball player. He didn't even play college football, played baseball at Longwood, was drafted by the Kansas City Royals out of college, had a cup of coffee in the minors, and then decided to become a football coach, and I think he's doing pretty well at it.
Somewhere along the line, he got with a pretty good football coach and gave him the basics of how a team runs a football. 20 plays, 20 runs, 125 yards, so averaging 6 yards a play. That's a formula for winning football games. Haven't had to put it in the air. JU's only had 7 plays, and they haven't been able to pick up a first down yet. 9 first downs for Davidson, 0 for the Dolphins. I mean, Davidson just dominated the game.
Yep, and it is very lopsided right now. Here's Pritchard to kick off. He's had kind of a kickoff roulette so far, and he bangs this one off the ground again, fielded by up back Cody Russell, who runs it off right side. And Jacksonville, again, will start with good field position. So far, it hasn't mattered. That Davidson defense has done exactly what it's needed to do. Yeah,
the Davidson defense has played better than I thought it would, and I think better than you thought it would.
I agree, yep.
Because when you look at their defensive statistics, as you pointed out, they're pretty good. But then when you start taking away some dominating defenses against mediocre team, outman teams, then it becomes pretty average defense.
Right.
Hasn't been average today. They have shut down a really good JU running game.
First down and 10. It's Turner trying to run the option, and he's got nowhere to go. Absolutely nowhere to go, and he's run out of bounds for little to no gain. Jalen Jefferson defended that well with some help from his friends. Jacksonville loses a yard back to the 36.
Not everybody on the Davidson defense stayed with their man. When you run the option, you're just hoping to get one guy to commit because you think Turner's going to keep it and he pitches it. They stayed with their man, and literally Calvin Turner, there was somebody right next to him the whole time. I mean, he had nowhere to go. That's good defense. That's good defensive scheming, good defensive coaching.
It's second down and 12. 14-0 Davidson. 14-18 to play in the second quarter.
Passing is legal in college football.
We haven't seen one yet. Here's a dive, and Nicholas, who's gotten the brunt of the carries here in the early going for Jacksonville, gains just 1 yard off left guard. And Jacksonville faces a third down and longer than the sticks to go.
Turner only throws it 5 or 6 times a game. So this running is what JU does. If they can't beat you with the run, they're not going to win the game. They can surprise you with the pass. Turner has improved as a thrower. And now, don't you have to put it in the air?
Maybe. And it's not raining right now, but it is wet out there. Turner is looking to throw. A little comeback route to the sideline, caught by Craig Saxton, and he's got a first down. He completes it out to the 46-yard line. Actually, it's just short of a first down. He stepped out of bounds, just shy of it, but now Jacksonville keeping the offense on the field, another 4th down and short. They were stopped on the last chance.
But at least they're showing Davidson, hey, we can throw it and we will throw it. and it makes you loosen up your defense a tad.
And here comes the punting unit onto the field right as I say that. So a quick change after the gain of 10 through the air left Jacksonville facing 4th and 1.5 yards. And the Dolphins electing to punt. Derek Stumpf out there. And again, no returner for Davidson.
Davidson's got some unique kicking.
No doubt.
A unique kicking philosophy.
Stumpf angles it toward the sideline. It checks up, taking a Davidson hop, and is stopped at the 26-yard line where the Wildcats start on first down. It almost, David, I don't know. You provide the offensive line perspective on these broadcasts. I provide the kicking perspective on these broadcasts. I'd almost be psyched out back there and looking at no one returning, saying, okay, this is entirely up to me to try and pin a team deep without anyone back there.
Well, the first thing you have to think if you're a kicker, I would imagine, is if there's nobody back there, they're coming after me.
Right, yeah, that's the other aspect.
They are coming, and yet Davidson really hasn't made a big push to try to block the kick. But all of their kickoffs have been on the ground. When Davidson has punted, they haven't had a return man. A very unusual philosophy.
First down, and here's Phelps off right end. Again, a great fake. Got me for a second. Another time, Phelps he pitched that one. Man, that ball was moving a lot more times than I thought it was. Phelps ends up pitching it to Khalil Shaw, who carries it 10 yards off right end for a first down.
And Shaw, by the way, is one of their many slot guys who will make some, again, doesn't see it touch the ball much. But when he does, he usually picks up some pretty good yardage.
He stays in the game. He's offset, now moves into the backfield. Phelps actually dropping back, looking to throw. The southpaw rockets one to midfield where it is caught and down into Jacksonville territory. Eli Turner Jr. carries the football after making that reception for another first down.
Well, so far the teams have now thrown one pass apiece, and they've been nice gains. Will this become a passing game? I doubt it. I think Davidson just wanted to let JU know we will throw it if you stack the middle of the line with everybody.
8th catch of the year for Turner Jr. Here's Shaw again off right end, and he's close to another first down. Looks like about 9 off the right side for Khalil Shaw, and we're seeing a little pace now employed by Davidson as the clock rolls under 11:40 left here in the opening half. Wildcats leading by 14.
Eli Turner Jr., Keelan Brown, Shaw. We've also got Tabor, Hilliard, Ross. These are all slot guys that have proven they can be dangerous, and so all of a sudden, Davidson's going in a different direction.
On a 2nd and 1, Davidson tried to set up the screen, and Miles Harris disrupted Phelps enough where he said, you know what, I'll live to see another play. Spike that one into the ground.
I believe in doing what the defense is not expecting, but if I was running the ball and I had Duggar and Story and it was 2nd and 1, I believe I'd have to just go ahead and get the first down.
Either get the first down or throw to the end zone. I mean, I think that's your one to shake it up a little bit if you want.
Maybe they're so confident they know they're going to get a first down.
It could be play calling roulette right now.
Yeah.
Phelps with a hard count. Shaw again. He's been a workhorse this drive, and he's got another first down. Nearly broke free as he gets knocked out of bounds at the 30, but the chains move again for Davidson.
The first 2 drives by Davidson basically was Duggar and Story. We saw Keelan Brown have a big play in there. And this drive, it's almost exclusively been their tailbacks, pitching it to them and so forth. Davidson is showing a multifaceted running attack.
Duggar gets it this time, and he slips out of a tackle and nearly breaks free. Torrey Parker perhaps saves a touchdown, but it's Duggar down to the 19 and a pickup of 11 and another first down for Davidson.
See, Duggar heard you called him like Duggar and 5.
Uh-huh.
So he said, I'll get
11.
Duggar and 15 or 11 or make it a big gain.
Again on the move are the Wildcats, trying to make it 3 for 3 in touchdown scoring possessions.
Well, so far this game has almost looked like a mismatch, Scott. It's just Davidson, when they run the ball almost at will, it seems.
The first flag of the game comes flying in at the tail end of that play as the ball is carried down to the 13-yard line, a gain of 6. We'll have to see what the laundry's about. Boy, I don't know if we've made it this far into a game without any sort of an infraction on either side to this point.
We're 20 minutes. into the game, 5 minutes into the second quarter, and no laundry on the field. That is, I don't know whether it's a record. Wouldn't it be great to see all the games like that?
Oh, yes. I mean, these are two teams that don't get penalized a ton, about 5 penalties a game for each side. Personal foul, unsportsmanlike conduct on Jacksonville. And that adds insult to injury. Half the distance to the goal. The ball was carried down to the 13, so it moves to the 6.5.
I believe that was Torrey Parker that did a little bit of extracurricular activity there. JU certainly didn't need that. They didn't need the help.
Here's a runoff right end. A new ball carrier this time, Eris Hilliard, his second carry of the game, first of the drive. He's down to the 3, about a 3.5-yard pickup. It's second and goal.
Well, the Wildcats have 6 slot guys, and they use them all a little bit. And if you combine all of their efforts, they're probably carrying the ball 8 to 10 times a game and picking up 100 yards. And then you go to Duggar and Story.
This is Duggar territory. He gets it again, and he works his way into the end zone. Third touchdown rushing today for Wesley Duggar, his 11th of the season and his 9th in the last 3 games.
Well, you know, Davidson came into here with a 4-2 record. They lost at San Diego last week. San Diego, the kingpin of the Pioneer Conference. But they're showing just a unbelievable running game. We now know why they're number 1 in the Pioneer and running the
and
football.
And the top 5 in the country
right.
in this regard as well. The point after is true. With 9:29 to play in the second quarter, it's been all Davidson to this point. 21-0 Wildcats over the Dolphins here in Jacksonville on homecoming. All right, 2, 1. 21-0 Davidson leads Jacksonville. 9.5 to play in the second quarter. And another short kickoff for Davidson. And let's take another look at how Davidson has really set the tone here so far in this game, David. It has been a methodical ground game, and it has ended with an exclamation point from Wesley Duggar 3 times already here today.
Yeah, well, in the first two drives, basically Davidson ran right at JU's defense. The last drive, almost everything was wide, pitches and getting their slot guys, their speedy guys, into the act.
Jacksonville starts at the 33. Dolphins do not have a first down today.
Well, I don't think we've seen JU's running game stymied.
Here's a throw to the left side, and a miscommunication there as Turner threw to no one. Bird thought that was a screen. Turner thought it was a go, and it ends up an incomplete pass. Just the fourth pass attempt between the two teams combined in this game. We have 9:20 to play in the first half.
Do you remember a game where JU's running game has been stymied?
Since Ian Shields took over? No.
Yeah, I'm sitting here going, they've been able to run the ball against almost everybody.
They've run it against scholarship higher level opponents with much more success than we've seen thus far here today.
I mean, the problem this year has been defensively they can't stop anybody. Offense hasn't been the problem, but today, both the offense and the defense.
And Turner again cannot get free and is forced out of bounds for a loss. Really well defended by Davidson one more time. Cade Vela coming up from his safety spot to usher Turner out of bounds for a loss, and it's a third down and long again for Jacksonville.
It appears that what Davidson's doing is they're what's called spying. They've got somebody told, do not take your eye off Calvin Turner. Just do not take your eyes off of him. And when he starts going wide, there's been plenty of people out there to meet him.
Turner looking for Bird. He's flushed, now throws underneath, caught by Riley. But Riley is stopped well short of a first down. And Jacksonville with another 3 and out. And this offense cannot seem to find any sort of rhythm. It feels like Davidson has the playbook.
Yeah.
And you know, I talked to Coach Shields about this earlier this week. I said, when it comes to you preparing for an offense that you're familiar with, what's the biggest bugaboo with preparing for an option offense? Well, most defenses, they don't know how to defend it because they don't see it very often.
Right.
Well, Davidson knows what's going on because the coaching staff on the other side knows it. Jacksonville conceivably knows what's going on too, but Davidson has really used it to its advantage so far.
Well, you mentioned this is Ian Shields' fourth year. JU has been among the leaders nationally in running the football every year. They are this year again, but not today, sports fans. Not today. Today, it's the Davidson Wildcats running the football. Boy, this is like deja vu for me. Do you know, Scott, that I covered Davidson football back in 1969?
I may have heard about that a time or two.
I covered them actually for several years. And in those days, they had a good team.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, 69, they went to their only bowl game, the Tangerine Bowl against Toledo down in Orlando. Jimmy Poole and Mike Kelly, a great passing combo. So a little nostalgia while we watch Davidson pound JU.
Here is Jarrell Story, and he carries it out to the 42, a pickup of around 3 or 4 on first down.
A quick story about that Tangerine Bowl game. In the second half, the lights in the stadium in that area of Orlando all went out. Everything went pitch black. And several minutes. And when the lights came back on, players were still on the ground. We didn't know what was going on, a nuclear attack or what. But it was an eerie, strange, unique situation.
Here's Story again, pounding for a few more yards up the middle. Yeah, I imagine that's kind of the heart of the Cold War, too. So maybe your heart does go in your throat a little bit when things go dark and you don't know what's happening.
Yeah, it may not have been the heart of the Cold War, but the Cold War was still going on. And you know, those thoughts were in the back of your mind. But, I mean, pitch black. It was like.
I had a bad dream about that happening here one time, and then we had to call the game anyway. Couldn't see anything. It was crazy. Here's a big run off right side into the secondary. Brown finally tackled from behind at the 20-yard line. Keelan Brown breaks free, the local product.
From Oak Leaf High School, 5'6", 183 pounds. He is and he's a scat back. Look at him. Makes a great cut. He looked like he was going to go wide, made a great cut back to his left, found the hole, and picks up the big first down. Jeremiah Johnson finally brings him down.
About a 44-yard gain. And here's a run off right side. And we'll see Story that time, who plows forward to the 20, a gain of 4.
You know, if you're Ian Shields, I don't. I'm not envious of his position.
Oh, I don't know what you say to a team.
Because I don't have any
at this
idea
point.
what you say to your players, to your other coaches. We can't stop them in the middle. We can't stop them going wide, and they're just controlling the ball. I mean, a 21-point lead right now, and the way
We're
this
under
game is
6
going,
to play now in the second quarter.
right, is huge. Because you don't know how many more times you're going to get the ball.
Yep. We are rolling under 6 minutes to play. Sun peeking out here as Tropical Storm Nestor makes its appearance. Really coming in across the Gulf side of the state of Florida, but bands sweeping in overnight and here throughout the course of the morning in Jacksonville. Flag on the play on the runoff left end for Eris Hilliard. Just the second flag we've seen today.
Only the second flag. It looked like it might have been an area of holding. The first flag on sportsmanlike conduct went against JU. Let's see how this one goes.
So Khalil Shaw whistled for the hold on the edge. And that'll be a 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. They'll move the football back to the 30-yard line, and it's, for the first time today, really, Davidson's behind the sticks.
Yeah, you know, and by the way, when you get going wide like that, the other slot guy trying to give you some help got over a little aggressive and grabbed the defender.
You got to tip your cap to the fact that they've gone this far and had this much success without having to do this. They'll go end around this time to Shaw. Shaw back to the original line of scrimmage, and Ethan Hull tackles him there. About a 12-yard pickup on the little trick play for Davidson. Shaw whistled for the hold, comes back and makes up for it here with a nice carry.
And look how he hasn't been touched yet. He hasn't run into a defender until right at the end of the run. That's good scheming there, and you know, as well as good blocking.
3rd and 9. Just outside the red zone. For the Davidson Wildcats.
Too wide to the left.
They'll run the option that way. And it's Phelps keeping it, and he fumbles the football. It bounces out of bounds. He got a little over-eager there, trying to use a stiff arm. Didn't secure the football, and it got poked right out by Kason Wakely.
And Wakely sees the ball on the ground, and just as he's about to get on top of it, it takes one of those crazy bounces and just bounces away from him. But excellent defense, great play there by Wakely. Like I said, he and Jeremiah Johnson have been playmakers on defense. Unfortunately, the team as a whole hasn't performed. But Wakely was sure he was going to get on that one, and it went in the wrong direction.
Davidson's had some trouble with fumbles. They're -5 in the turnover margin this year, and that's a case of a quarterback trying to do too much. They'll stay on the field on 4th and 10. Phelps throwing toward the end zone, tripping and falling. An incomplete pass as he tried to connect with Eli Turner Jr. And Turner Jr. was open, had a step on Wakely, but lost his own footing as he pirouetted down the sideline there.
And for the first time today, Davidson's going to have to do something. We'll do something other than score a touchdown, unless they have a trick play coming up on their field with their field goal unit. And I'm assuming they're.
That was 4th down, David. So a turnover on downs.
Oh, okay, turnover on downs.
And Jacksonville takes over with 4:12 to play in the first half, trailing 21-0 at their own 23-yard line. Worst field position of the day for Jacksonville. A.J. Mealer off left side. A short gainer out to about the 28. Gain of about 5 on first down, and Jacksonville's just looking for a first down at this point.
Yeah, Mealer, one of the many area young men on this JU team. He's from Baldwin High School, and he'll see the ball a few times a game, but he's not their main, what do they call the L-back or C-back?
He's a C-back listed. A, B, and C is how Jacksonville goes with it. Davidson lists theirs as running backs and then slot backs.
I miss the days of quarterback, left half, right half, fullback.
Right. It's the same style, it's just different names these days.
Call them what they are.
Yeah. Timeout called by Jacksonville.
You know, you say halfback to somebody these days, they don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, it's funny, yeah. Like, it's just not a term really used all that often.
Well, running back is the term most used. Tailback is used less and less and less.
Well, and then all that came from, fullback and halfback came from football, as in the foreign game. Soccer is where they call those positions halfbacks and fullbacks to describe them, and it sort of came over that way.
Yeah, well, I didn't even realize that. But I've never understood why don't you say middle linebacker instead of Mike? Why don't you say strong side linebacker?
Instead of Sam or Will.
You can say middle as fast as you can say Mike. You can say strong as fast as you can say whatever they can say.
Well, it's the jargon from on the field coming off the field now. So like the QB sits there and goes, one is Mike. That's easier to say than one is middle on the field, I think. But now everybody else says it. Here's Turner taking a shot down the field. Craig Saxton goes up and comes down with it into Davidson territory. Out of the timeout, Jacksonville dials up a pass play, and they get a first down for the first time today.
All of a sudden, Craig Saxton, who has not made a lot of plays this year.
He only had one catch coming into the day.
And all of a sudden, he's got JU's 2 completions so far today. So he's a sophomore out of Reedsville, Georgia. 6'1", 210 pounds. A good size for a wide receiver.
Converted quarterback playing wide receiver. Here's a hard run up the middle. And Garnett Nicholas carries it down to around the 39, a gain of about 4 on the play. We're under 3 minutes to play now in the second quarter. Jacksonville trying to get on the scoreboard before the half after the defense comes up with a stop, forcing a turnover on downs. The offense picks up its first down of the day.
JU's been doing usually what Davidson's doing today. They pound you inside with Nicholas and Davidson, and then they get Turner going wide.
And here's Turner off right end, down to the 41, and a third down and short. Gain of 3 on the play.
I believe he may be in the minus yard category or right at 0 because he lost yardage on the last one. This is not.
I mean, for a guy who averages, David, to your point, over 100 yards rushing a game.
And usually averages a big chunk. I was just trying, what is he averaging? 5.5 yards a carry.
Yeah, he has not had that today. Third and around 3. Davidson got a lot of guys walked up near the line of scrimmage showing pressure. Turner, trap play. B.J. Riley. He avoids one man, a second man, and is lassoed down just shy of the mark to get. That's a really solid tackle by Hunter Murphy.
I'm going to give Riley a lot of credit. Sometimes some of the best runs are 1 or 2 yards. I mean, Riley made a skip, a hop, a turn. I mean, he was doing everything imaginable to try to find a crease somewhere. And to Davidson's credit, there was none. But give Riley an A for effort.
It brings up a 4th and 1 now because of that run, and a much more manageable opportunity for Jacksonville, who are 0 for 1 on 4th down today. Dive, Nicholas, hit at the line, breaks out of the initial tackle from Hatalowicz, and falls forward to pick up the first.
That was a great second effort by Nicholas. Give him credit. And you're right, Riley's little short run became much more important because what we saw right there, you wouldn't have had 4th and 1. You'd have had 4th and 2 or 4th and 3, and I don't know that JU would have made it.
And if Hatalowicz had managed to hang on.
Yeah, Nicholas just would not stop and kept going forward.
1st and 10 for Jacksonville from the 32. Just 35 seconds left in the half. Jacksonville needs to show some urgency here. Only 1 timeout remaining as well.
Davidson's defense looks like it's almost teasing JU to go wide. They've got 7 guys basically in the box.
Turner in a foot race, tackled inbounds. Close to a first down, but the clock continues to roll. 14 seconds left, and Jacksonville will use its last time out. 12 seconds remaining, 21-0 Davidson.
Is that Turner's best run of the day?
It is. 9-yard scamper for Calvin Turner Jr. on what was a dialed-up pass play.
Yeah, I was going to say, the reason is he was going to throw it initially.
He avoided what might have been a big hit there. from either Rayshawn McCall or Jalen Bolden. One of them was streaking up from their corner spot to try and blow up Turner, and he sized him up, skipped right by him, but then in the process stayed in bounds, forcing Jacksonville to use this final timeout. If you work the sidelines, you've got time for 2 more plays, probably.
2 more plays. One of the things Turner does best, by the way, is he avoids normally the big hit.
Mm-hmm.
He has that ability to slide, twist, and turn. Now, I say that in light of early in the final game last year, he got the big hit on his knee and was done for the game. But normally he doesn't take a lot of pounding, which is good if your quarterback's going to be your primary runner.
2nd and 1, 12 seconds left in the half, 21-0 Davidson from the 23-yard line of the Wildcats. Does Turner throw to the end zone here or try and get a little bit closer for kicker Zach Benwick? Instead, he'll run a sneak to pick up the first down to stop the clock while they move the chains. And now Jacksonville will line it up quickly. And now perhaps they'll take the shot. Clock is running, 5 seconds left, spiked.
Okay.
Interesting move there. They got it closer, but only eventually 2 yards.
Yeah, that was an unusual situation. The sneak I didn't quite figure out. But like you said, he got it a couple of yards closer. And we will see if this makes it across the crossbar by a yard.
then it will have been the right call.
Then it was a heck of a call.
This will be a 37-yard, 38-yard field goal from the left hash, and Davidson, perhaps electing to ice the kicker here, calls a timeout. Now they have 2 left, and in the college game, you could, if you so chose, burn all 3 of them in a row, which is a rule that I find to be absolutely ridiculous.
As a former kicker, did icing you ever work? Did it bother you?
If you're thinking about it, you're thinking about it. If you're not, you're not. Nothing's going to change in a couple of extra seconds.
Right. So most kickers that I've talked to said, I figure they're going to do it.
Now, if you do the icing where the ball is snapped and the kick is kicked and all that stuff, I think that can mess with you a little bit. But before you even line up to try and attempt, I don't think it has anything to do. This year, the freshman Benwick,
he's got the leg. We know he can make it from here.
He's 3 for 4 with a 45-yarder to his credit. Again, this will be 28, and Scott Abel calls another timeout.
Well, just for pride, JU needs to put something on the board. I mean, JU prides itself on being a very good running offensive team, and to go into the halftime at home, homecoming, with a big goose egg, just the 3 points I think would be a little mental stimulus. Let's put it that way. I don't know that it's going to help in the long run, but I think it'll help make.
At some point, you just have to have something to hang your hat on, right? To try and build off of, like you said.
Yeah, it's something that, well, hey, that last drive, we moved the ball pretty good and got the field goal. Good job. That's a start. If they can get 21 in the first half, we can get 21 in the second half. They can shut us out or hold us to 3. We can hold them to 3.
Here's the snap, the hold, the kick is up, and good. Zach Benwick gets Jacksonville on the board here in the closing seconds of the first half, but it was largely dominated by the Davidson Wildcats. 21-3, your score at the break. Dolphins just trying to salvage something there in the waning moments of the first half, David.
It was a runaway victory for the Davidson Wildcats in the first half. They dominated the ball with their running game. They pretty much stopped JU with their defense. When your offense wins, your defense wins. Sounds to me like you got a big, big day. But there's another half to go, and things can happen. We know JU can be very explosive with that running game. They've also hit. We've seen them hit some big pass plays.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's why they play the game.
That's why they play the game.
Let's see the second half. It is still overcast, but the rain has pretty much stopped, and the crowd is picking up. I think.
Get a chance to celebrate a little bit of homecoming here on this Saturday. Your score at the break: Davidson 21, Jacksonville 3. We'll be back with the second half after this.
said that they need to be more resilient. He wants to see more resiliency out of his team. If they get a few stops on D and convert on O, it's a totally different ball game.
And Natavia, what about Coach Abel and Davidson?
Well, after speaking to Abel, he says there was lots of passion and effort, and he was basically proud of their performance. Last game, they didn't feed Duggar the ball as much, but, I mean, this game, that drastically changed. And as you can see from the score, their performance shows their results.
It certainly has to this point. Wesley Duggar, 15 carries. He's gotten the lion's share of them, 85 yards on the ground and 3 touchdowns. Let's take a look at the highlights from the first half of play and how we got to this point. This has been a half largely dominated by the Davidson Wildcats running the ball on the ground. The first drive went 13 plays, ended up with a touchdown for Duggar. They got it back after a 4th down stop and immediately marched down the field and started off the second quarter with a touchdown as well. And that third drive, more of the same, David, on the ground and another score.
Yeah, the first 2 drives were almost exclusively up the gut. As we were sitting here watching Duggar and Jarrell Story, I mean, they just ran it between the tackles. The third one, they started using their slot guys, and Brown and Shaw, they had 8 carries between them for 80 yards. By the way, the Wildcats, 34 rushes. 34 rushes in the first half, 226 yards. Those are incredible numbers of controlling the ball. Only threw the ball 3 times, 1 completion for 18 yards. But another problem here is 37 plays for the Wildcats because they control the ball. Meanwhile, the Dolphins only had 22 plays. So when the other side almost doubles your number of plays, it's tough. And by the way, we have an answer to the kicking problem.
Yes.
We were wondering why Davidson was just dribbling the kickoffs and so forth. It turns out that their kicker, and you pronounce the name.
Yes, Caden Banofsky, a freshman kicker, and he ended up with a little bit of a miscue in warm-ups.
Well, I saw a player, and I didn't realize it was him. I didn't pay much attention other than the fact that he was on the table, the trainer's table before the game, and I saw him sort of limp off, but I just didn't connect there. But that's why they have no place-kicking game. So
the punter, Evan Pritchard, handling the duties here today. First down run and a big blow delivered by Eli Turner Jr. going off left end as he carries it for a gain of about 5 and an emphatic gain of 5 at that.
Well, that's a very positive thing. I guess stopping them on 5 yards is a good thing right now. But if it comes down to a field goal, you got to think.
True. I mean, this is
Davidson's advantage.
Right. Jacksonville got that field goal before the half. Last year, we're able to get a kind of a rally going as a flag on the play. Officials are still talking things over. It looks like something against Davidson here, but it was holding on Davidson, so the ball moves back. This is a situation in which if Jacksonville can here again maybe take advantage of a miscue from the Wildcats and get a stop on defense and maybe roll that into some offense, you've got a ball game again here potentially.
Well, we've seen Jacksonville effectively run the ball down the field this season. We know they are capable of doing it. So, again, it comes up to make some stops, make some defensive stops. I think Davidson only had the ball 4 times in the first half, 3 touchdowns, and then they lost it on 4th down, again, because they have no place kicker. It would have been a fairly short field goal, but they had no option other than to go for it and give JU credit for stopping them.
Good tackle by Kyrie Woods after a short gain from Wesley Duggar. It is 2nd down and 12 to go for Davidson.
Only Davidson's second penalty a while ago.
And a huge hole. Duggar into the secondary. A foot race. 30, 20, 10. And Mo Flournoy makes a tackle at the 2 to keep number 2 from scoring his 4th touchdown of the day.
I think it's going to be even inside the 2. It was a foot race, and it looks to me like he lost literally by by a yard, maybe I think a yard or less.
Flournoy tried to punch it out, actually got it loose there, but a good job by Duggar to cover up with two hands, and it's 1st and goal from the 2.
Well, you're right. They did spot it at the 2.
That's an that's a 76-yard run for Duggar, who pushes the pile toward the goal line, in for the touchdown. A holding penalty does not hurt Davidson, as a big field-flipping run from Wesley Duggar takes him over 100 yards on the day, and he finishes it off one play later with his 4th rushing touchdown of the afternoon.
Well, JU's defense was playing better. The last possession, like we said, they stopped them on downs. This time they had them in a bad situation, and then Duggar makes the huge run, which puts him, by the way, well over 100 yards. 226 yards rushing in the first half. And now that is over 300 yards. Pretty remarkable.
For a team that averages just under 300 yards rushing, it's Pat Tabor, the local product, the slot back that has been kicking these PATs, and he is 4 for 4 now on the day. A big run.
Left-handed kicker, by the way.
Yes. A big run to start things off for Davidson here in the 3rd quarter, and they build the lead back out. It's 28-3 Wildcats with 13:42 to play in the 3rd quarter. Jacksonville, David, is at this point, any sort of momentum they probably had going into halftime, that has gone out the window.
Oh, it just went out the window with that long run. By the way, why does the world discriminate against left-handers? You know, when you see a left-footed kicker, it looks so strange.
It does.
It looks odd. Did you know that in the NFL right now, there is not one left-handed quarterback? Now I'm talking about not just starters, on any roster.
Really?
Not one left-handed quarterback. I'm left-handed, by the way.
Oh, so you're biased a little bit.
Well, you don't have to be
Pro
biased.
lefties.
The facts are there.
Yes.
You discriminate against us left-handers.
They had a pretty good one here for many years in Mark Brunell, and there's one that's pretty good leading this Davidson offense as well, and Tyler Phelps. Another bouncing kickoff, and another return for Cody Russell out to close to the 40-yard line. Here's another look at that last drive and the big run for Wesley Duggar on what was a 2nd down and 12, and the field flipped. And it was just right up the middle.
It was right up the gut, a gigantic hole. I want to give Davidson's coaching staff a lot of credit because they have kept JU's defense totally off balance almost the entire game. Pound, 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 up and down the field. Next time, going wide. That time they go wide, then bam, right up the gut. It's just very difficult to try to man all the spots, and they're not doing a very good job of it.
2-yard gain on 1st down for Nicholas. And this Jacksonville team here on homecoming, maybe in the locker room came out, we're thinking get a stop, get down the field, can cut it to 11 with a touchdown. And instead, Davidson, after the turnover on downs in their final possession of the first half, needs only 4 plays to go the length of the field to get the scoring started here in the second half.
Well, 2nd and 12, so you got them in a good position. They're sort of backed up to their own goal line, and then boom, he goes the distance. He goes almost the distance.
Another short one for Nicholas, another 2 yards, and Jacksonville is facing a 3rd down and 6.
Well, there's just nowhere to run.
No, there's bodies absolutely everywhere. Hunter Murphy, that time the defensive end. It almost feels like Davidson's playing with more defenders than Jacksonville has offensive players.
Well,
and the beauty of the option offense is it's supposed to be you have one more player than they can block.
Right. Well, the JU offensive line is simply not playing very well. They're getting whipped soundly at the line of scrimmage.
Passing play for Turner. He's under pressure, rolls. He sets up, floats it down the sideline. 2 men there, and 1 man comes down with it, Mitch Bailey. He took it away from his teammate Ish Cortez, and Jacksonville picks up a big 1st down.
Well, some of JU's better plays, certainly some of Turner's better plays, have been plays that didn't work out as planned, and he improvises. And you could see the snap of the ball, the line of scrimmage was 2 yards deep in JU's backfield. Turner has the speed and the quickness, gets out, and then just makes a beautiful pass.
He had space, and he just put it up there and said, make a play for me. He's back to throw again. Throws right side. Got a man out of the backfield. Mueller down inside the 10. And that was a strike from Turner that time.
He put that was thrown on a rope, as they like to say. He throws the ball so much better this year than he did last year.
He just looks comfortable. Footwork, arm action, everything.
Well, the ball just comes out of his hand so much better. Now, keep in mind, last year was his first year at quarterback in college. He had played cornerback as a freshman. He's such a good athlete. And then last year, and it took him a while. I don't know that he'll ever be a prolific passer, but he certainly looks better with the ball, throwing the ball.
Not much there on the trap on first down and goal for Jacksonville. This is the farthest down the field the Dolphins have been all day. They had not been any closer than the Davidson 21-yard line. This is the first time the Dolphins have been in the red zone today.
Well, let's see if that pass, the threat of the pass will loosen up the Davidson defense a little bit and give them some room to run, because right now it's very frustrating, I would think, for Nicholas and Davis and anybody trying to run the ball.
Here's Turner off left end. Looking to pitch. He'll keep it himself. And a whole host of Wildcats there to deny him any sort of idea of a long run. Bryce Perry-Martin, third in the PFL in tackles for loss on the game coming into today, the first man there.
You give Turner some room in the open field, and he can twist and turn and slide and make tacklers miss. You can't make three of them when they're gang tackling you miss. And I don't know whether that was just bad design, great defense by Davidson, or what, but Davidson won that battle.
Jacksonville has gone backward the last two plays. They're back to the 9-yard line. Turner looking to throw, floats it toward the end zone. Caught. Touchdown, Ish Cortez.
Well, maybe we're going to have to see JU go to the air to try to get some points on the board. That was big. Right now, JU has to score almost every time they touch the ball because what are they, 18 points back? And they can't keep getting deeper and deeper, because I don't think Davidson's going to slow down that much.
Third passing touchdown of the year for Calvin Turner Jr. Had just one all of last season. He had as many receiving touchdowns as he did passing touchdowns last year. Zach Benwick tacks on the PAT, and Jacksonville has answered the early score from Davidson here in the third quarter. 28-10, 9:48 to play in the third. Davidson leads Jacksonville. Welcome back to Jacksonville. Dolphins scoring their first touchdown of the day a moment ago on the 9-yard Calvin Turner Jr. to Ish Cortez pass play, and that was one of a handful of successful passes on the drive. The ball bounces and rolls out of bounds, and good field position now for Davidson. But, David, on that last drive, we saw Jacksonville go to the air 3 times, and all 3 of those passes were complete.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious by now. JU's going to have to throw the ball to move it because they cannot run against this Davidson defense. That doesn't mean they can't break a big one, but when you're down by 18 and the other team is controlling the ball whenever they get it, you've got to score. You got to score fairly quick to try to get back in this game and hope you get a turnover somewhere along the line. So I would think JU is going to throw the ball quite a bit in the remainder of the game. And by the way, the first half was literally an hour.
It was an hour
of real time. I think the second half will be considerably longer because JU's going to have to throw it.
Ish Cortez's first career touchdown of any style. And he gets it in through the air. Jarrell Story with a short pickup on first down. 4 yards before Miles Harris drags him down.
And a good shoestring tackle there. Grabs him around the ankles. Nowhere to go. Hey, your ankles are held together. Hard to run. Well, JU's defense is, we said, we just keep repeating ourselves. It needs to step up if they're going to have a chance.
Mm-hmm.
The way Davidson's running game is going, I anticipate this drive taking a few minutes off the clock and being successful. Faking the blitz.
And here's a run again for Story, who picks his way off left side and picks up a first down out to the 46.
Well, the trouble is when you bring the blitz, you open up some lanes. The quarterback can either do a quick hitter, or as soon as Story bounces outside, everybody's bunched inside. He gets a nice gain. Unusual game, not what I expected at all.
Kind of like last week in that regard.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. So, like a box of chocolates, you're never quite sure what you're going to get, which is actually should be fun. I enjoy the competition, and I'd like to see more of it today.
Up the middle, not much there. Story stacked up and driven backward. Morris, Bowen, Maines all in on the stop for Jacksonville. He pushes his way for about 2.5 or so, knocking on the door of enemy territory.
JU has actually controlled Jarrell Story pretty well. He is their power runner, and they've actually controlled him pretty well. Duggar's, that is an entirely different question. Mm-hmm. He has run mainly up between the tackles, but he's run wide. He bounces out, and he just showed us he has pretty good speed. He went. How long was that last run that he did?
76 yards.
76 yards. So for 76 yards, he outran.
There's a great tackle in space by Torrey Parker as he gets out onto the edge and denies Eris Hilliard as he tried to turn the corner. And this is something we haven't seen much of today. It's a 3rd down and long for Davidson.
Yeah, this is what JU has to do. They've got to, I don't think they can consistently stop them, so they've got to be able to make big plays like Torrey's just made right there. You've got to be able to break through and throw a guy for a loss, put the Wildcats in bad situations. So far, their third has been 3rd and 1 or 2nd and 1.
Now it's 3rd and 10, and they'll go end around Brown. Brown hit at the midfield and spun to the ground down to the 49 of Jacksonville, but it's still 4th down and around 5 for Davidson.
All right, we have not seen Davidson punt today, so it will be interesting what decision they make here.
Bowen and Johnson making the tackle. They're in kind of no man's land here. Davidson also likes to go for it on 4th downs. They're tied for the 2nd in the league in attempts this year. They're 13 for 20, and they're 0 for 1 today. 13 for 21 now on the season, I should say.
Defense has been called out.
Here's a pitch to the edge. Hilliard, and he's got enough for the first down. Was able to beat Flournoy to the corner. And he gets 1 more yard than he needed, down to the 43, and Davidson keeps the drive alive.
Well, they faked it to Duggar up the middle. He had drew a lot of attention, and he allowed Hilliard to get outside, and He's got the speed. Those are plays right now that are just driving nails right into the hearts of the Dolphins.
Fresh set of downs on the 7th play of this drive for Davidson. Play action for Phelps, a rare throw, and it's nearly intercepted. Johnson got the first of his career last week, jumped this one, but couldn't squeeze it.
I tell you what, if I was Davidson, I'd be very careful about throwing the ball. Why would you give JU a chance to intercept it? You're doing so successfully on the ground. That was an ill-advised pass.
It was not open.
He's not open. There's double coverage. You were about to hand JU something there. Unfortunately for Davidson, he threw it so bad that nobody could catch it.
Here we go, 2nd and 10. And they'll go back to the ground game. Option look right side. Pitch play to Brown. Brown is sandwiched after just a 1-yard gain. A big hit, C.J. Lewis congratulating Mo Flournoy. Not a big guy, Flournoy, 5'9", 180, but we saw him last week with a season-high 6 tackles, including a tackle and a half for a loss, and he comes up again here laying the thunder in run support.
I love the pursuit there, and they had the middleman stop pretty good, so they could afford to send those guys with the pitch guy, and they ran him down. Good play.
Another 3rd and long, 3rd and about 8.5. The defense for Jacksonville, really outside of that one long run, has already been better here in the second half than it was in the first. And Phelps, seeing that play clock wind way down to 1, calls a timeout. First timeout called by Davidson here in the second half. Stops the clock with 5:05 to play in the third quarter. Davidson leading 28-10, and the Wildcats will get a chance to talk things over.
JU's defense has been considerably better in this half, except for that one long run, which allowed Davidson to get his 4th touchdown of the day. But they seem to have figured something out where they're able to defend the entire field, and that has forced Davidson to throw the ball, once or twice, and that's a good situation. You want Davidson throwing the ball because from what we've seen today, they don't throw it very well. So the last thing you want them to do is run it. If you can make them throw the ball, you've got an outside shot at making some kind of comeback, but you've only got 20 minutes to do it.
Clouds building overhead again. We've pretty much stayed rain-free for the most part in this game, despite tropical system. What was the name of it? Nestor, excuse me. Just got named yesterday, making landfall on the Gulf Coast. It wasn't very organized. Here out of the timeout, an end around. Brown just cuts it back right up the middle and runs into a host of green jerseys at around the 34. And again, a 4th down and short for Davidson. Do they keep the offense on the field or elect to kick this time? I doubt they're going to kick because of the kicking situation. So another chance for Jacksonville defense to get off the field and another chance for the Davidson offense to convert a 4th down.
All right, again, JU's defense has made far more good plays than bad plays in this half. They need to make one more. What do you do here? Duggar is the tailback. Do you go right at him again?
They'll line it up, pound it right up the middle. Duggar, 1st down. And he is tackled by the ankles by Flournoy. 2nd 4th down conversion in this game, in this drive, David, for Davidson, who are just chewing up clock here late in the 3rd.
Duggar always seems to have plenty of running room, but nobody else does particularly. You know, it's pretty amazing. You don't quite know what his qualities are, but he does something, and he does it very well. What did you say? 4th on the active list
in
of
rushing yards
in the country.
Yep. At the FCS level. Down to the 28, 1st and 10. 10th play of the drive. Option pitch. And that time it is Story on the edge, left side. Misidentified him earlier. Didn't think they'd run the option with the big boy, but they do get him involved on the edge, and he picks up a good chunk on 1st down.
Yeah, that's not what he normally does, and maybe that's why it worked. Because certainly JU was not looking for that.
And it's about a 7-yard pickup on 1st down as there was a lot of space there for the big man to get rumbling downhill. Steps out of bounds near the 20. And that is indeed where the ball is spotted here, maybe just shy of the 20-yard line. Under 3.5 to play in the third, 28-10 Davidson, and the Wildcats on the move again. Back to throw, Phelps hit as he throws, and it's intercepted. Flournoy down the sideline, into Davidson territory, still on his feet. Flournoy in a foot race, tackled at the 21 by Duggar. First of the year from Flournoy, and a promising drive comes to a halt for Davidson on Tyler Phelps' 4th interception of the season.
Well, that's what I was just saying. You're running the ball so well. Why in the world would you take a chance on putting it up where interceptions are possible? And particularly if you've got a thrower who, from what we've seen today, is very mediocre, not only in throwing the ball but making decisions. Bad decision there. Looked like his receiver either made a wrong cut or got knocked down or tripped or fell. But
credit Crandall Maines.
Oh,
he
yes.
came in and hit him, and that's what I think sped up everything for Phelps.
Well, that's a
and he
good
threw
point.
into traffic twice on that drive, almost paid the price the first time, gets bit the second time. And now Jacksonville starts at the 21-yard line with 3:05 to play in the third, trailing 28-10, and a chance to get in the end zone here. This could change things.
If the Dolphins can get here and close it, to 11, then we've got a ball game going into the fourth quarter.
Turner pitches on first down, and it's Nicholas who is spun down just inside the 20-yard line.
I don't blame him trying to get him wide. He's had no success going up the middle. He hadn't had any help with the offensive line.
And there's a flag down as well. Holding on Jacksonville. And they'll replay first down. And this is what you don't want to see, right? You get a big momentum play, and then what do? You hurt yourself on first down or with a penalty or a turnover or something of the like. And it wasn't a successful run to begin with, and
Right.
then you get hurt by a penalty. The ball moves back to the 31.
As I've said before, the only time I think holding I would be okay with it is if my quarterback was about to get crushed and one of my linemen
Right.
grabbed the guy, that's one hold, and you say, okay, probably a good move. You got to know what you can do and what you can't do.
Turner throwing deep down the sideline. Mueller leaping, couldn't haul it in. And he had A.J. Mueller with a step on the defense. But this pass, a rare one that got away from Calvin Turner Jr. today. He was thrown largely on the money here this afternoon.
Yeah, that may be the only pass he's thrown that really was not catchable. He threw one where clearly the receiver.
Yeah,
he
there was a
were on different
miscommunication
pages.
somewhere.
But other than that, everything he's thrown has been catchable.
Second down and 20. Turner, option. Turner is looking for a block, and he tight ropes the sideline down to the 23-yard line. Nearly got the penalty yardage back, but it's a third down and fairly long to go here for Jacksonville.
You almost get the feeling that the Davidson defensive staff told their players, we want you to hit Turner, hit him hard.
Well,
Don't ever not take a shot at him. Hit him hard, make him think about it.
They saw him almost single-handedly lead a comeback last year,
Right.
including a one play in which he evaded all 11 defenders for a touchdown. It was unlike anything I had seen, but then I kind of got used to seeing that from CT2. Here's a pitch play, and it could be a pass here. Mueller, left-handed, throws it away. So Jacksonville goes to the bag of tricks to try and catch Davidson off guard. Does not work.
Yeah, Davidson had that read all the way. They had three defenders out there with Mueller.
Well, I learned A.J. Mueller's left-handed there. So there's your lefty quarterback battle here, David. We've seen Phelps for Davidson, and now Mueller throwing a lefty pass. And Jacksonville will line up to try what is a 40-yard field goal from the right hash. Benwick is 1 for 1 today, a 38-yarder to end the first half. Abel burned through a couple of timeouts to try and ice him there before the end of the half. I doubt we see the same thing here.
Yeah, just chip away. You got to get points on the board if you can.
And he connects. So 2 for 2 today. Zach Beswick in Jacksonville turns the interception into 3. The Dolphins back within 15. 28-13 your score. 1:48 to play here in the third quarter. at DB Milne Field. And on a homecoming Saturday, we now welcome into the booth a guy who's having a little homecoming here, right? Former Jacksonville defensive end linebacker Justin Horton. Justin, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Scott. How you doing?
Doing great, man. It's great to have you on
Yes,
with
sir.
us here. And did you give these guys a pep talk at halftime and try and get this defense going? Because they look like a different group out there in the second half.
No, but I know a lot of these guys, and it don't really take them a lot to get going. So just being motivated enough, being down at the half is probably good enough for them.
Being a former defensive player here, JU,
Hmm.
how do you feel, though, when Davidson is just basically running it down your throat? You've been on the field. What kind of feeling must these players have?
Well, to be honest with you, Davidson, in my time at JU wasn't too much of a challenging
Right.
game. So it is strange to see. But, like you said, I've been a part of drives like that and a part of games where it seems like, we can't catch a break. I mean, my junior year, Dayton did the same thing to us for a while until we were able to figure it out. So it's not good. They're gassed, they're tired, especially running the ball. That takes a lot more energy sometimes in pass coverage. But, again, if you can plug them up from what they've been doing and make them adjust, then the game gets a lot easier from there.
What is JU's defense doing differently this half? Because they're clearly playing better.
Yeah, I see, a lot more from what I've seen so far. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, I was a little late. But
We
what
won't
I
tell.
saw, they were gashing them up the middle a little bit, especially on that, early half touchdown with number 2. I think he's the B-back, but seems like they've hunkered down a little bit. They settled down, especially with that interception. It's probably gonna, bring a lot of juice. So let's see what they do.
We'll see. First down after the interception, and they stick to the ground game again, trying to get to the edge. And just a short pickup for Eli Turner Jr. before Brian Bowen slings him to the ground. And I would say the biggest difference I've noticed, the linebackers are a lot more present here in the second half. And it probably starts with guys taking up blocks up front and allowing, I said that was Bowen. That was actually the man I should have assumed it was, Kason Wakely, a playmaker, making another play. But they've been freed up to kind of get to the ball better here in the second half.
That's always what you want to do with your defense. And, linebackers, as we are known for, is being athletic and making plays. So if you can
Ooh, a big hit there as Phelps carried it into a big space off right side. Jeremiah Johnson greeted him, but Phelps picks up the first down, pays the price for it, however.
Give him credit for holding on to the ball.
Yeah.
Again, if I'm Davidson, I want to get the ball out of Turner's hands as fast as possible, because Phelps' hands as fast as possible, because he hasn't held the ball very well, hasn't thrown it very well, and that's
Yeah, my jaw hurts from watching that one.
Sometimes on slow mo it doesn't look nearly as bad as it really is.
Oh, here goes Story, rumbling into the secondary. Finally brought out of bounds after a huge run. Jarrell Story with an ability to separate once he gets into the second level.
Let me ask you, Justin Horton, this. He's 248 pounds. There is a lot of difference between tackling a 200-pound running back and a 248-pound running back, I would assume.
Yeah, it's different. But for me, and, in my time when we played, our thing was to get him before he gets rolling. Just kind of like an offensive line pulling. If you hit him, 9 times out of 10, he'll stop running like that. So that's all they got to do is get a little shoulder pad into him. He'll slow down.
Sting him pretty good.
Yeah, they got to. I like Wakely to do that. That's my boy.
Not much there as we have a new ball carrier, first-time ball carrier today. Dylan Sparks bounces into the line of scrimmage and loses a yard, and that will bring us to the end of the third quarter. Davidson has led throughout, lead 28-13, and are on the move in Jacksonville territory when we come back. Justin, you got a little bit longer? Stick with us?
Sir. Yes,
All
I
right,
do.
so we'll come back and have Justin Horton, former Jacksonville defensive end linebacker, with us as we roll into the fourth quarter here on Homecoming in Jacksonville. Starting off the fourth quarter here at DB Milne Field in Jacksonville, 28-13 your score. Davidson leading, and the Wildcats with the ball. And a second down run gains a couple. Scott Manzi, David Lamb, joined by former Jacksonville defensive end linebacker Justin Horton.
You know, you get in one of these games and you suddenly find yourself saying, this is the biggest stop of the potential stop of the game. You know, this is the biggest drive of the game. Well, right now, JU's 2 scores down. They can still win this game, but they have got to stop Davidson. They, they don't have any more leeway, room to let Davidson get up and down the field. And I don't guess they're going to kick a field goal with their place kicker out, but you can't let them score.
4-down territory here. Option, Phelps pitches. Foot race to the sideline. Wakely holds on to the jersey and ushers Hilliard out of bounds.
Wakely's made a lot of plays. He and Jeremiah Johnson, they've made a lot of plays for a team that hasn't played well defensively.
This should be another 4th down, and it is. 4th down and around 5 for Davidson. Hilliard, the youngster, getting greeted by a wily old vet there on the sideline.
You know, in my day with the tearaway jerseys, he'd still be running. That jersey would be in Wakely's hand.
They need 5 to get a first down. Have already converted. A couple of 4th downs here today, both coming on the last drive. Duggar up the middle. Duggar dragging men, and he has another first down. Wesley Duggar is unstoppable.
And again, he got to the line with some room to run. Somehow he always finds room to run, and he does a lot of good stuff. But look at the hole. I mean, he is 3-4 yards before anybody hit him, and nobody can hit him solid. They're just reaching and grabbing hold of him.
It feels like he's just too powerful to tackle one guy one-on-one, right?
You got to get some hats on him, that's all. But yeah, he's probably a good matchup because he does look pretty big. So.
Well, he's got good size, but you're not going to grab him. You're not going to arm tackle him.
Yeah.
Like you said, you got to get a shoulder or a hat into his body.
Yeah, you got to get somebody on him and hanging on to him so he's not, making any forward progress.
Duggar had to exit the game for a play after losing his helmet, so Sparks carries up the middle. Haven't seen Story since that run around the end.
Well, look at Sparks picking his way through. That's a nice gain for your third tailback.
Jacksonville showing signs of a blitz, and there may have been contact or early movement here. Flags flying, both sides pointing at each other.
That's the little stuff that you got to pick up on, especially at this point in the game. That's the stuff that you need to eliminate as much as you can. And like you guys said before, like you said, Wake is making plays and Jeremiah is making plays. You need those two things to clean up penalties like this and for somebody to come and make a play that'll give everybody energy. So they got one of those things. They just need to cut down on the other.
Well, the last thing you wanted there was an offside on JU.
Yeah.
But to JU's credit, they know they've got to stop them. They're trying to fake these blitzes or do these blitzes, and the timing is now down to a split second, and he's a split second too fast, and it hurts him.
1st and goal. End around Hilliard. Hilliard with space, and he's in.
Well, as Don Meredith used to do when he was on Monday Night Football, back before you boys were even born. Turn out the lights, the party's over.
It feels like that may have been the proverbial nail in the coffin. Jacksonville goes interception, gets a stop, has to settle for 3, and then Davidson runs out the remaining part of the third quarter, eats off a good early chunk of the fourth quarter, and punches it in to extend this lead again. It's a PAT away from being 35, but hold the phone. Never mind. A holding penalty, a flag that snuck out there really late.
I was going to say, on the replay,
wipes out the.
Yeah, they was holding CJ. I don't know why it was so late, though, because it's kind of obvious.
The three of us are watching, and I never saw a flag.
I didn't either, but.
What?
That goes against tight end Nick Snyder, called for the hold, no touchdown, and we'll do it again.
I'd like to take back that song I was singing.
Well, here's a look.
Yeah, it is. Right on the edge.
Right there at the edge, and yeah, you can see it. As Justin pointed out, there's CJ. When that head snaps back and that arm goes flying up, a lot of times you can get that call. So a first down run right up the gut and bullying the ball down to the 5-yard line. Wesley Duggar again.
I never saw the flag when they did the replay.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
It came out late.
Where is the flag? I hope it got stuck in his pocket, but because it was obviously a hold.
Oh, very much so.
And a good break for the Dolphins. It's still, though, it's doom and gloom is lurking nearby.
Second and goal, Duggar again.
And
And
what?
Wesley Duggar, 2 plays later, ends up finding the end zone again. And what a day for the junior B-back, who has now found the end zone 4 times here this afternoon.
But, he just seems to find places to run. It seems like he's getting some room. And you watch this. He's now 1, 2, he's 3 steps past the line of scrimmage before he's touched. Makes a cut back and powers his way in. It's remarkable what he's doing.
He's a downhill runner. You just need to get some penetration. That's all.
That is actually the 5th touchdown of the day for Wesley Duggar. I stand corrected.
I was getting ready to say, I think he scored them all.
He has been unbelievable here this afternoon. Not the sole guy who's made the plays for Davidson, but he has certainly been the best guy today for Davidson.
I'm going to make a prediction, Scott, that Wesley Duggar is the Pioneer Conference Player of the Week. And I'm going to say that without knowing what's going on in other games. But you could not have controlled a game as an individual more than Duggar has today.
He has been absolutely incredible all afternoon long. He has found the end zone 5 times. He has scored 11 touchdowns in 3 games. He had 4 touchdowns twice in his last 8 games. Last year, he was a touchdown machine as well. 45 yards coming into the game from moving into 3rd place all-time in Davidson rushing history. He has easily eclipsed that, passing Eric Ferguson, who had 2,791 yards over his career from 1996 to 1999. He's only a junior.
When you see a player that shows that kind of talent, don't you have to wonder a little bit, how did all the so-called big schools, how did so many people...
How did they miss him?
Right, this is non-scholarship football. How did no one offer this young man a scholarship? 6'1", 205, so he's got the physical tools. He's got the speed. We saw that already. Nobody, Vanderbilt couldn't use a guy like this,
Yeah, because he could definitely get into Vanderbilt if he's getting into Davidson. Here's
Right.
all 5 touchdowns for Wesley Duggar today. They haven't been long runs. They don't need to be long runs because he's done a great job setting it up with the way he's run the ball. Justin, what do you see that makes him special as a runner?
This young man has run the ball like Larry Zonka back in '72. That's what makes him special. That's probably why he didn't get too many offers, because football is kind of evolving past that point. But, like I said, I haven't seen anybody run like this in a while. So,
I'm just thinking of Duke and Wake Forest and
Yeah.
Vanderbilt and Northwestern. You're telling me none of those schools could have used a guy like this? That's pretty amazing.
A good friend of mine named Marquez Williams played for the University of Miami. He's one of the best fullbacks I've ever seen. And right now he's without a job in the NFL because there's little use for fullbacks. And
they don't play fullbacks anymore.
Yeah, that's the stinky part. They had that guy at with the 49ers, and maybe the Watt brother, and that's about the most predominant fullback you'll see right now.
Well, you know who does use the fullback, by the way, which tells you that maybe everybody ought to use a fullback? A team called the New England Patriots.
Yep.
Oh, well.
They still use a fullback.
Well,
I would sort of do whatever they're doing.
can't argue with that.
Jacksonville burned with another personal foul penalty. That one goes against Mitch Bailey at the end of the play, and this is what you don't want to see in a game that is tilted in favor of one side. It's 35-13 Davidson, 11:41 to play. You don't want to see guys lose their composure, lose their cool at this
The
point in
frustration
time.
begins
Right,
to come out.
to boil over.
You're being embarrassed a little bit. It's homecoming. You're frustrated, mad, and so forth. But you're right. You can't allow it. What I want to know, how did Justin? How do you know what Larry Zonka looked like? You weren't even born when Larry Zonka.
I know. I'm a football historian and a Miami Dolphin fan, so he's one of the best we ever had.
Turner looking to throw. He goes over the middle and through the hands of B.J. Bird, who's been held in check today. We have not seen Mr. Bird come down with a reception here this afternoon, and he had been, to this point, Jacksonville's most prolific wide receiver. Now, there have been some other guys that have picked up the slack, but it's been a rare quiet day for the junior college transfer, Bird from Vallejo, California.
I became friends with Larry Zocco when he became general manager of the Jacksonville Bulls.
Uh-huh.
Now, I covered him during his career with the Dolphins, but the Miami Dolphins. But once he got down here, we got to be actually pretty good buddies. And, you know, I did a television show, Lamb at Large, for like 18 or 19 years. My first ever guest.
Oh.
Intercepted by Tony Collins. He picks off Turner, who was trying to go over the middle, and that is the first interception thrown by Calvin Turner this season in over 50 attempts.
I'm going to forgive Calvin Turner. You know why? Because at this point, they've got to take chances. You've got to try to get the ball through, you know, the smallest of holes.
Oof.
You've got to make big plays. You went, ooh, what did you see?
Looks like a receiver slip, and it looks like he underthrew it a little bit. That young man sitting right where he's supposed to sit, you know, right inside the hash it looked like, and he made a good break. So, you know, if you're not super precise, which from what you guys said he had been, and, you know, these past few passes wasn't too nice, but, you know, you can't take chances like that, especially with a guy playing zone coverage that well.
Well, what about the fact, though, that you're at this point, what difference does it make? You
Yeah.
take chances, and if you hit them,
Yeah.
you got an outside shot. If you don't
Yeah.
try them, you got no shot.
You're right. I mean, at this point, there's going to come, you know, few and far in between. You do have to take some chances, but, you know, they got to be some high percentage shots, too,
Right.
because you don't want something like that to happen and kill your momentum, too. But, yeah, you have to take some risks, but you got to be a little careful because it can end pretty badly like that.
No, you're right, and I understand. And by the way,
And here's another big run for Davidson, this time off the left side, and we have seen quite a bit lately of Dylan Sparks and some good carries for the third-string B-back. Jarrell Story, he is not played in this game in the last two possessions, and I'm looking for him on the sideline, but I don't see him down there. I see Draylon Hines, the other guy who wears number 7, but no sign of Story. But Sparks is, I mean, they have hardly lost a beat when it comes to rushing the football here.
yeah, you're right. He's played very, very little, more action in this game than any game so far.
Here's another run up the middle. They've made a change of quarterback as Davidson as well. Louis Calissimo has entered the game, a junior from Sarasota, Florida, Furman transfer. And so Davidson has brought in pretty much all the backups to this point to get them some run here as we are under 10 minutes to play. Davidson comfortably in front, 35-13. Wildcats looking to make it 2 in a row against Jacksonville after they snapped a 9-game losing streak to the Dolphins last season. Before that, their last win had been in 2007. That's also their last win against the Dolphins here. It was a 20-10 victory, and that was part of a 3-game winning streak for the Wildcats over JU in that stretch.
You know, as a non-scholarship program, one of the things you need to do is you need to get players from scholarship programs transferring to your school. And
And that's what they got there with the Furman transfer. Calissimo, who runs it in off right side, spinning out of a couple of tackles before finding the end zone. He is the first guy not named Wesley Duggar to score a TD today for the Davidson Wildcats, though Duggar has been put on ice with this game in control. And you got to credit Calissimo there, but
well, just poor tackling, trying to strip the ball maybe. By the way, one more time, turn out the lights, the party's over, all things must come to an end.
here is Tabor, the local product, who is perfect on PATs today in relief of the injured Caden Bonofsky. Davidson took a little bit of a counter punch from Jacksonville, but responded and have separated here in the fourth quarter. 42-13, your score with 9:22 left. Justin, thanks for joining us today, man.
Thank you, guys.
It was a lot of fun.
Appreciate you for
Justin
having me.
Horton, former Jacksonville defensive end linebacker, joining us here on the broadcast. We'll step aside, be back here in just a moment. It is all Davidson here as the sun peeks through the clouds at DB Milne Field. A 42-13 Wildcats on top. Scott Manzi, David Lamb back with you here at DB Milne Field, and this time it was Davidson's turn to turn turnover into points. They get a touchdown out of it on the interception from Calvin Turner Jr. Ball pops up in the air, still loose, and Davidson comes up with it. And that's just boy, insult to injury.
Well, the concentration, I think, is gone. Frustration has set in. And
there's your oblong object argument again there, too. I mean, another look at this one. This is a bouncing ball that just bounces right off of a chest plate of a guy, and then it's just who can squeeze it first. I mean, it's everywhere.
And when things are going against you sometimes,
it just snowballs,
they
right?
just keeps going against you. And I would think Mr. Duggars is through for the day, wouldn't?
Oh, I would highly doubt we see him again.
And he's going to wind up with well over, I think he's going to be over 200 yards and 5 touchdowns. That is what you would call a pretty successful afternoon. It'll make that ride back to Davidson, North Carolina, go a lot easier.
A runoff left end for Keelan Brown. Picks up a couple.
I would be shocked if we saw
any
Davidson
of these starters again.
Or Davidson put the ball in the air.
Oh, that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't think we were going to see that again after the interception anyway.
Right, I didn't either. But I'm just saying that, and so you would think JU would now just sell out on the run, but the way things are going, as soon as they do, there'll be an audible by Davidson, and there'll be 3 receivers wide open behind the JU defense.
Another short pickup, close to a first down.
And the Dolphins now are, trying to ball tackle.
Mm-hmm. Here's a look at how that last drive went. It was the interception first thrown this year by Calvin Turner Jr., picked off by Tony Collins, his first interception of the season. They got a couple of backups involved. Good running that time from Sparks to carry it down low, and then Calissimo ends it with this option keeper off right side. Breaks a couple of arm tackles and gets in.
Well, they were trying to tackle him up high, which means they're probably going for the ball, and he managed to get out of him. You want to bring a man down, you get him low, you take his legs away from him, but it's easier to say up here than down there.
No doubt.
Well, it's got to have been a very frustrating day. I think Coach Shields thought that the Dolphins would continue to run the ball well, and I think he thought the defense was showing signs of getting better.
Certainly.
And we saw signs of getting better in this game from Jacksonville's perspective, but too many big plays, too much Wesley Duggar.
And on the other side of the ball, the offense is where this group has hung its hat for the last couple of years, and they have not been able to really engineer a whole lot of consistency on the offensive side of the ball today.
Right. Well, Davidson's thoroughly beaten them defensively and offensively.
Yep.
No, it's a thorough victory. Davidson now goes to 5-2. They got beaten pretty well at San Diego last week, but you've got to think right now that Davidson would be the second best team in the Pioneer League.
Well, maybe Drake. They're 3-0 and sitting right at the top of the standings right now as well, and they have size to match up. Dayton, we saw what their offense can do, which is pretty incredible as well. I mean, it should be an interesting battle for I will continue to say that it's a battle for second until somebody proves to me that they can beat San Diego. But Davidson certainly in the conversation. They got off to such a hot start last year and faded down the stretch, ended up with a winning record for the first time since 2007 thanks to a goal line stand in the final game of the year to finish 6-5. But they only went 3-5 in the league after starting 2-1. And I think this year's group, I was talking to one of their coaches before the game, Austin Eisenhofer, who's a former assistant here, actually was on Coach Shields' first staff as a GA and played for head coach Scott Abel at Washington and Lee before joining him when he took the job at Davidson. He's now their tight ends coach. He was telling me, these guys are they're still figuring it out. It's still, this is only year 2 of this, so they're learning how to win games, learning how to finish games as they're in late, things of that nature.
I think it's an incredible story that Scott Abel wasn't a football player; he was a baseball player.
Yeah.
And he just sort
And
of
an
got
MLB
into,
draftee at that.
right, and he got into football coaching apparently a little bit late. But I'll tell you what, he certainly picked it up, and like you said, second year, Davidson, once a doormat, is now at least battling for that the upper half of the conference, and what we've seen today, a well coached, scheme wise, they've done well. I've been impressed with Davidson, far more than I thought I would be.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Duggar as such a fine running back. I didn't remember them being quite as stout with their offensive line and able to move. And like you said, every offensive lineman playing a different position than he played last year. So they've made that adjustment pretty well. And not only is Duggar a fine running back, they have a stable of slot backs. They've got, Story is a fine backup running back. They've got right now everything that I can see, but a playmaking quarterback.
Mm.
And if they can get that guy, it'll be interesting to see what Abel can do with this school.
We just had offsetting unsportsmanlike conduct penalties there.
There you go. You're talking about that.
Yep.
It gets this point of the game, gets chippy, and
1st and goal now for Davidson. Phelps, he's thrown for over 3,000 yards in his career, but I think a lot of those passes have been open looks, and he hasn't had many of those today. Hasn't needed them. There's Pat Tabor carrying it in. He's kicked a bunch of PATs today. He's from just down the road at Atlantic Coast High School. He has 4 career touchdowns, 2 of them now coming against Jacksonville.
Yeah, and by the way, he averages over 10 yards a carry. That run hurt his average because he couldn't go but 4 or 5 yards. But it's good. It's good to see playing in Jacksonville. It's good to see a local guy have some success. And we've already seen Keelan Brown have some success. He's out of Oak Leaf High School now at Davidson College.
And then Tabor, give him all 7 points in that sequence as he scores the touchdown and tacks on the PAT. Will we have a kicking battle next week for Pat Tabor, who just dunked a 9-iron through there, I think.
I was going to say, and then he hit a nice little 9-iron after he kicked the PAT.
He's having some fun in front of family and friends here this afternoon here in Jacksonville. It's got to be a fun homecoming of sorts for him, a guy who, he doesn't factor into the game plan a ton on a regular basis, but he's done a nice job here in his limited opportunities today, both carrying it and then, weirdly enough, kicking the ball.
I often wonder when I see teams play and the one team has players from the other team's area. And I often wonder if Tabor, Brown were recruited. If they weren't, it doesn't mean there was some recruiting faux pas. But I often wonder if the coach, if Shields is now going, we might could have used Tabor, we might could have used Brown. You never know. But you see it all the time. Somebody will leave Gainesville and go play for Auburn. And you're saying, did you just lose him? Did you realize that he could play? Or did you just not think he was a player and he winds up at a rival? It's just an interesting thought. And maybe not that interesting.
Bounces down there. Bird gets his hand on one for the first time today. And what has been a quiet afternoon for B.J. Bird picks up here with 5:18 to play in the 4th quarter. 49-13 Davidson. All Wildcats as they are on their way to a 5th win this season, just one shy of last year's total. For Jacksonville, this will be a 3rd consecutive loss after they went into PFL play. 2-2 on the season. Now 0-3 in the PFL and are left working things out.
I just hope we could have a clean finish. I hope one thing that Coach Shields and the staff are telling the players, and they probably aren't listening, guys. You had a bad game. You've been embarrassed a little bit, but this is homecoming weekend. Show some integrity, and don't act like don't lose your cool.
Right.
Don't lose your cool. You've got alumni here at the game, on campus. Campus has got activities going everywhere. I know you have to rush.
Coming up tonight, the Jacksonville Hall of Fame ceremony, the class of 2019. It's a a big and exciting one as Turner airs it out. And as that one intercepted again, nearly was. A diving attempt made on the sideline by Josh Buffkin on another what appeared to be a miscommunication there between receiver and quarterback. But
it really did. I don't know whether it was a miscommunication. I think you're right.
So, but some highlights here. How about this, David, for the Hall of Fame tonight? You've got Joanne Pierre, now Klein, who's married to former Jacksonville linebacker Mike Klein. She was an outstanding cross-country and track athlete here. She's going in. Duncan Stewart, the former men's golfer, played with Russell Knox here. They were both part of ASUN championship teams and played professionally together over in Scotland. We've got Terry Alexander, the winningest coach in JU athletics history, the former baseball coach who has his number retired down there at John Sessions Stadium. How about?
By the way, Alexander probably won't make it.
He will not make it here
because he was in Taiwan,
coaching in Taiwan
yesterday, coaching a national team.
Yeah, as they were in their equivalent of the World Series up until yesterday morning when that came to a close. So he's not able to make it tonight. But Ronnie Murphy, former JU basketball player, drafted by the Trailblazers in the first round, helped take the Dolphins to the NCAA tournament in 1986. He's going in.
Ronnie Murphy was a top 10 player in the country when he played here. This goes back into the 70s. JU had its national championship game team in 1970. Well, the rest of that decade, they brought in some incredible players: James Ray, Otis Smith, and Rod Murphy. I covered those teams. Trust me, we're talking about players that could go suit up for Kentucky or North Carolina, anybody in the country. They were incredible players. They all played in the NBA. Otis played for quite a while.
Yes, he did.
James Ray, unfortunately, played a while but then got sick. He had a very debilitating illness. And the last time I saw Ronnie Murphy, he didn't look like that outside shooting guard.
No.
He looked like that retired offensive tackle who had spent time drinking beer, eating pizza. So he got out of shape, and his career came to an end.
On the last team, you mentioned him before, the 69-70 team will become the second team to be inducted into the Hall of Fame here at JU.
What a team that was. Artis Gilmore, the late Rex Morgan, Vaughn Wedekin, Pembroke Burrow.
Yep. Greg Nelson.
There's
going to be a lot of guys. Fortunately, a lot of guys that are still able to make it here tonight will be honored.
That 69 team, they could go 7-2, 7-2, 6-11. Now, back then, that was unheard of. And by the way, Artis Gilmore was not only 7'2", he was athletic. He was like the following of Wilt Chamberlain. Pembroke Burrow, and they were good athletes. They weren't just 7-foot slugs.
Look at B.J. Bird taking an end around, diving for the pylon, and getting into the end zone. I mentioned it's been a quiet day for Bird, but he's able to take this one in from 20 yards out. And Jacksonville, with its second touchdown of the second half, coming with 2:33 left, cuts it to a 49-19 game PAT pending.
You can tell the game. I've lost interest in the game. I'm thinking about some of the wonderful other things going on, but the point is they were big guys.
Yeah, they were unbelievable.
That had athletic skills. They weren't just tall trees, and the country had never seen anything like that on one team before.
If the dunk had been legal, there's probably no way they don't win the national championship.
Oh, absolutely.
Because UCLA goaltended the entire game.
Oh,
Sidney Wicks was up there just swatting every shot.
Well, not only did they goaltend, they practically beat Artis Gilmore to death.
Yeah, and Artis somehow fouled out.
Right. They had Curtis Rowe and Sidney Wicks, one in front, one in back.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, no dunking was not allowed.
Going for two here, back of the end zone, looking for Saxton. It's too tall. And that will end that drive for Jacksonville. 49-19 your score, 2:33 remaining. Davidson will get the ball back, and I imagine just run it out to these final 2:33 and hit the road heading back home to Davidson, North Carolina. David, next week, you and I will not be together as Jacksonville heads on the road again for the second time in league play to face Butler. That's a 1 o'clock kickoff before returning home to play Stetson. Davidson has a home game against Marist. Marist, who got beat pretty badly by Dartmouth today, though we've seen that Dartmouth team, and they're no slouch. They're
they were a
pretty
very
good team.
football team.
But for Jacksonville, it's going to be gut check time as we approach the end of October here, as this team tries to get back to some of those early season goals and I think some of the aspirations that weren't unfounded when we saw this team play pretty tough against Richmond. We saw a strong win on the road at Presbyterian. I mean, this is a team that certainly appeared to have made some significant strides from last season when the squad went 2-8 and 1-7 in the PFL. But right now they're staring a 2-5 record and an 0-3 start to PFL play in the face.
Well, I want to send a compliment to the Pioneer League. JU struggling so bad, but it looks to me like there are more good teams in the Pioneer League, and JU struggles. Maybe that may be part of it.
Mm-hmm. The league I think is better as a whole this year, as you can see all the scores that got us to this point for Davidson. But
a few years ago, playing Davidson was a victory for.
It was. As long as you dressed out and showed up, you were winning. I mean, JU beat them 56-0 in their place one time.
Right. So we know San Diego's still good. Drake is playing well. Davidson looks like it can play. So I wonder if part of JU struggles aren't really struggles.
Stetson's better. Haven't seen them yet, but they're improved. Yeah, I do. I don't think that there's. I don't think there's just a very clear-cut bottom of the league per se. I mean, it used to be where Moorhead was kind of a layup. Valpo was terrible. Davidson was bad. Stetson was a layup. I mean, there was a lot of, I don't want to call them easy wins, but there are ones in which you could circle them on your calendar and say these are get-right games type thing.
And JU's program had a nice run.
Humming at that point, too.
Right, and they were humming along.
For various reasons.
And those were games that they could win. There were various reasons, but I make no accusations, you understand. But I think we said last week on the broadcast, if I were a young investigative reporter right now, I know one story I'd at least be looking into, and that is San Diego, to find out how they have managed to be
just a juggernaut to the extent.
Right, just so much better. When a lot of schools got punished for giving too many of what president scholarships, JU among them, they all dropped a little bit. San Diego didn't drop They didn't drop a foot. They just stayed at the same level, and great coaching. Jim Harbaugh coached there.
Yes, he did.
Southern California, loaded with talent, obviously football talent. Those are all pluses, and that's why that should be a good program. But it makes me wonder. That's all. It makes me wonder that when those programs got slapped on the wrist in the Pioneer League, all of them seemed to drop, except San Diego.
90 seconds left. Davidson running out the final seconds on the clock here. I mean, it's really setting up for Davidson going forward. They are 2-1 in the PFL, 5-2 overall. Host Marist. That's a game they're on the. I would say that Davidson has an advantage over Marist right now, especially at home. Host Valpo. That's another game that Davidson will be favored in. Before going to Butler, which is always a challenging place to play, but I would say on paper right now Davidson's a better team than Butler. Have to go to Stetson. That could be a tough one before hosting Drake at the end. So they've already gone through, maybe the harder part of the schedule. They avoid Dayton this year, which is a huge victory.
Right, and a lot of times, that's the way it works. I know Georgia's first sort of bounce-back season, I guess, with Kirby Smart, they didn't play Alabama or LSU that year.
Yeah, it helps.
If you get a schedule, where you're not playing two of the top teams in the conference or maybe the top teams in the conference, good for you, and somebody else has got to go to Alabama and play LSU, So the schedule has a major factor.
And that's one where Jacksonville seemingly can't catch a break. They seem to get Drake, Dayton, San Diego every single year. This should be the final play of the ball game. A Sparks run up the middle. He is stacked up and dropped with 18 seconds left. And now a little bit of extracurricular at the end, and let's just separate everybody and get on our way, as this is in the books here now with the final 5 seconds ticking off.
Right.
That's the last time you want to see anything break out as a game comes to a close.
Good officiating in that situation. Yep. Keep the thing in your pocket. It can't do any good to have another play.
Just break up the pile. So that'll do it for us here in Jacksonville. Davidson runs its way to a victory over the Dolphins, 49-19 your final. Wildcats over the Dolphins here in Jacksonville. 5 touchdowns on the day for Wesley Duggar, leading the way for Davidson, who improves to 5-2 on the year, now 2-1 in the PFL. Jacksonville falls to 2-5, 0-3 in the PFL. For our sideline reporters today, Tanisha Green and Natavia Reddick. For Justin Horton, former Jacksonville star who joined us on the broadcast, and my partner is always David Lamb, and our entire crew, I'm Scott Manzi saying so long from Jacksonville, Florida. Again, your final score, Davidson 49, Jacksonville 19. And the Wildcats victorious here in the oldest rivalry in the PFL.